Conversations have the power to change our lives. They could be with a family member about a big decision, a nudge from a friend to take a risk, or at a networking event with a professional you just met. A lot goes into these powerful conversations. You have to be talking to the right person with the right information who's willing to help you. You also have to be ready for the conversation. You have to know what you want or what you don't know, willing to listen, and willing to take action afterwards. Today, I want to tell you the story of when all of these factors aligned. I'm originally from Central Missouri. My father's a farmer, my mother's a housewife. Our farm has 1,800 acres, 900 cattle, and when I was younger, 1,500 hogs. To put that into perspective, 1,800 acres is around 81 million square feet, or more than twice the size of New York Central Park. So the farm is huge. It served as a source of income for my mom and my dad for the past 50 years or so, and it's employed my brothers, my sisters, my nieces, my nephews, and lots of folks from the town around us. But not me. I'm allergic to literally everything on the farm. I was forced inside to avoid being sick all the time, where I discovered my interest in science and technology. Using the two most entertaining and available tools that I had, I watched a lot of Bill Nye the Science Guy and Star Trek: The Next Generation. As your classic Star Trek fan, it didn't do much for my popularity in this rural football town. But I didn't let people calling me shy or geeky or whatever stand between me and the interest that I had. In college, I realized my limitations and focused on other things, like studying psychology, until I realized I didn't want to be a therapist. So I ended up graduating with an undergrad degree in business. I'd been working at the local grocery store during high school and college, and I took that experience along with my business degree and started looking for jobs. I did then exactly what I now teach my students not to do. I sat at home, applied for jobs online, kicked back, and waited for the offers to start rolling in. As you can imagine, I waited a year for the phone to ring. It never happened. Luckily, during this time, I happened to be reintroduced to someone I'd met a few years earlier. His name is Chris. He had just returned from the Marines and was studying psychology. I helped him get a job with me at the grocery store. We became friends, and I shared with him my concerns. He introduced me to one of his psychology professors. When Steve and I talked, I told him my concerns, that I was interested in psychology but didn't want to be a psychologist, that I was interested in business but wasn't getting anywhere applying for jobs. I asked him if there was something that I could do that would blend both of these options, and he said to me 3 words that changed my life: industrial organizational psychology. Immediately, I was sold on this idea, and I started researching this field that I hadn't heard of, that my parents hadn't heard of, that my family hadn't heard of, and that maybe some of you in the audience haven't heard of either. This one conversation with Steve took me from Missouri to Chicago and my graduate education. But that's not the end of my networking story. When in grad school, I was involved a lot on campus as a student employee and as a volunteer, and I happened to meet a lot of the staff. In meeting them, we've kept in touch over the years, and about 7 years ago, I was talking with one of them. Her name is Anna, and she mentioned to me that she had an opportunity that might be interesting. From around that time till now, I've been working at the Stuart School of Business as the director of the ACE program, helping students in our school to develop their professional skills. In this program, we emphasize the importance of networking, which we define as the process of creating and maintaining mutually beneficial relationships. It's a nice definition for what we introverts will call a necessary evil of the job search process. And yet, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't networked, at least my introverted version of it anyway. Networking is a skill. The more you do it, the better you get. If you're an introvert like me, or maybe someone just starting to network, or someone who needs to rebuild their network, I recommend starting with the people that you already know. Look to those around you. Look to your family, your friends, your colleagues, your trusted coworkers, maybe your students, your classmates, your professors, and your advisors. Find these people that you already trust, have a conversation with them. Ask them questions. Ask them for references to other people. And then after you've spoken with them, take their advice and act on it. Many of my students are international. They speak English as a second language, and a lot of them identify as introverts. They have correctly observed that in the United States, in the business world, we place a pretty high value on people being outgoing, people who will assertively sell themselves and their ideas in order to stand out from the crowd. They tell me that this type of environment is very uncomfortable for them. And guess what? It is for me too. These situations can be very discouraging for people who are not really wired to seek out a lot of attention, who are uncomfortable with crowds, and for some, it's culturally inappropriate for them to approach people without introductions first. So I talk to them about networking their own way. Use the people that they already know. The ultimate goal in networking is to find the connections that count, not to count your connections on LinkedIn or whatever. You may be starting out new, and you may not know a lot of people. You may not have a lot of connections right now, but that's okay. You may not need to go too far to find them. And when you do have that first conversation, you may not know really what you're asking for, but that's okay too. We all have to start somewhere. So my 3 steps for starting your network are first, to be prepared. Know what you can do or what you can't do. Know what questions you have. And then be willing to share this information with the people that you meet. Second, ask a lot of questions. Ask the person that you're talking with about their employment, how they found their role, and ask them if there's anyone that they would recommend that you talk with. And then finally, follow the advice. It might be something small that you need to do, or it might be something big and scary that you need to do, but act on it. So introverts, take advantage of the network that you're given. You never know. You could be sitting near someone right now who could change your life. Thank you.